in a regular season game since 1991 and rout the Grambling Tigers by a score of 72-10. Good evening, everybody. I'm Charles Hannegriff along with former LSU Tiger Richard Dixon. The outcome of this game was decided from pretty much the second they scheduled it. One of LSU's final games in the in-state rotation to play everybody landed on Grambling this year, and the game was a mismatch. The Tigers scored touchdowns on 10 consecutive drives. Jaden Daniels threw 5 touchdown passes tonight, 423 yards of total offense, and 42 points. That was in the first half. That would have been plenty enough for most games. The Tigers got real strong contributions from Logan Diggs and Caleb Jackson, both making their LSU debuts. Both look to be top options in the run game moving forward. LSU top 300 yards on the ground. Offensive lineman Lance Hurd got in the game early. He played quite a bit tonight. His LSU debut, 9 different players caught passes, 4 different players caught touchdown passes. The 2 young tight ends had their first LSU receptions. McMarkway, Kamari, and Pimpton both caught their first LSU passes on the night. LSU's punter took the night off, and there wasn't really a whole lot you could say offensively. The Tigers did not do well with what was in front of them. 3 quarterbacks play. Everybody got a uniform dirty for LSU tonight. Defensively, though, a very different story. And, you know, the final stats will say that LSU gave up 10 points and none after the first quarter. But when the starters were still in the game, in which this was the entire first half, Grambling netted 12 first downs, 259 total yards, 129 of those on the ground, over 9 yards per carry in that first half, 132 yards on 11 completions. We did see LSU try some different combinations in the secondary. We saw Denver Harris for the first time, for example. We saw more tonight of Andre Sam. LSU's got some issues in that secondary, to be sure. There were open receivers. They got caught in some bad spots in the run game. We saw Mason Smith make his debut, and we saw Harold Perkins a little bit more on the outside than we saw him there a week ago. Rich, these are always tough games to go in and grade. And generally, unfortunately, it's what you did well, you were supposed to do well, it's expected, and anything that you didn't do perfect is going to be put under the microscope, and why didn't you do it perfect against an FCS team? But while the offensive performance couldn't have been any better, that defensive performance in the first half left you nervous about what's to come next.
No, the defense has me scared right now. It was just they couldn't get anything going in the first half. I mean, there's 4 drives that Grambling is just ripping our defense apart. I mean, you get a touchdown on the first drive, you get a field goal on the second one, you get a missed field goal on the third one.
Short.
Short. And if you don't have the running back punch Guillory in the face, you're looking at a 3rd and 1, and they're getting that drive going. They keep going. We just, we moved Perkins out of the edge. He had 1 tackle for the night in the first half. Mason Smith, 1 tackle. There's a lot of questions I have about the defense. I mean, watching it the first time, and to be honest, I was watching some other games at the same time tonight. But there's a lot of questions. I need to go back and watch that film because they were getting gashed by Grambling in the first couple of drives.
There's every problem, problems at every level on the defense right now. It's
defensive line, linebackers. It's the front 7, the secondary. This is the whole defense right now.
I don't think probably the defensive tackles or probably the bright spot in there.
No.
And Mason Smith looked like a guy who hasn't played football in a while. He had a rough time in August getting the number of reps that they wanted him to get because he was hurt. And so there's going to be a ramp up for him. I think somewhere later in the season, you're going to see the full Mason Smith, but there's going to be a ramp up. I don't know how long that's going to take.
He just needs playing reps. I mean, he hadn't played a lot, in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
He looked like a guy that was out of shape. He wasn't in the best shape tonight. He looked tired early on. But that's playing rep because you can do all the sprints you want to do. until you're playing football, it's a whole nother deal. And he hasn't played a lot of that lately, so he's got to get some snaps on him.
He's got to play, and that's why he played. He was in there in the second half tonight, which ordinarily, you could take a starter if they had played well. Look, all the offensive starters, well, not all of them, but
they kept that offensive line in there a little
bit.
They
kept the line in there to play with Nussmeier in the second, at the beginning of the second half. But Daniels was out of the game by that time. You could have pulled anybody you wanted to pull. The issue was not in doubt anymore, but he needed to play. He needed reps.
And I think that I don't have the snap chart on him, but I do remember looking up in the second half. I'm like, I thought they said 30, and he was still playing. And to me, it's just like, look, get him some reps, knock the rust off. But for the bright spots to me tonight, Logan Diggs. I want to know why he couldn't play last week. I want to know Caleb Jackson.
My guess is that there was a hamstring that was bothering him throughout camp, and he missed some time. He was dressed, so I'm assuming it was not
6 days
something
ago.
Else. Was there something else there? Was there an in-house deal? I don't know, but because he made the trip, he was dressed.
The only comment Brian Kelly made was that he wasn't able to practice the way he needs to practice to play.
Let me just say this. Whatever reason he didn't play last week, the reason wasn't because he wasn't good enough to play. Okay.
No Diggs and different. Man.
Diggs and Jackson are your best options up there. This is not just because they were playing Grambling tonight. Diggs did this at Notre Dame last year. He came in as, the most accomplished back that they have. And then we saw Jackson, who's got a size and speed combination that is tops on the team. I don't know if he knows every pass protection. I don't know if he's got the offense down.
Put him in empty.
There are going to be times where he just has to play. Those two guys provide they provide a dimension that the other backs just don't. It's not that the other backs are bad. It's just that these guys are better.
And I'll say we have a lot to talk positive about offense. And I'm not going to talk bad about Grambling, but that's the most mismatched LSU game I've seen in my entire life. And I didn't start watching LSU football. No, that's where my problems are. Because those guys, they were small. I mean, our offensive line threw them around in the first half. I mean, those guys couldn't move. And that's where I was most frustrated on the defense. You have the same physicality. We have a physical defensive line. We should have been blowing those guys up, and they're rushing the ball. I mean, you got two running backs on that team, one average 15 yards a carry, one average 8 or 9.
12.
Oh, my bad. But, like,
11.8
that's the most frustrating thing to me. I mean, we didn't stop their offense until they took that quarterback out.
Grambling averaged 5.5 yards a carry for the game. And for the first half, when I'm not going to say the issue was in doubt, but all of the principals were still playing, they averaged 9. Over 9.
They pulled them because they couldn't stop our offense. They felt pretty confident on their offense.
Yeah. They've got a whole schedule to play.
Yeah.
They've got a full conference schedule to play. This is not where their season is going to be made or lost. They need those guys, those frontline guys.
There's another thing I'll say. I mean, I said it last week. Our cornerbacks were in position all night, and the receivers made better plays. Tonight, Denver Harris was in position. They made plays. But I can't say – I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's just like they keep making the plays on our guys.
They're looking for answers back there. The first two plays that I watched saw Harris on. He gets beat in the end zone, and the other one was a pass interference. I mean, those weren't his first two snaps. They were just the first two snaps where I noticed him.
And then there's a third one. He has the interception in the end zone and gets knocked out of his hands.
Right. So what can you do? You got to go back and you got to try and do the best you can. I do know this, that if they're going to play the amount of zone that I think they're going to have to play the rest of the year, they're going to have to get a bit of pass rush than what they've been
There's
getting.
no pass rush right now. We're not getting there. I think Jordan Jefferson got the only sack of the night. We had one. I thought they had. I looked at the stats. They said they sacked us once. I thought they had us a couple more times. We just weren't getting a lot of pressure, and we put Harold Perkins back on the edge. He got sucked up by their Grambling offensive tackle. I don't know what's going on schematically, but we just can't seem to get home.
It's definitely a work in progress. There's a lot of things. Look, conference plays here next week.
Yeah.
Breakfast with the Tigers next week. So get it fixed, because watched a decent amount of Mississippi State and Arizona tonight. I had, like you, multiple viewing options, and I watched a little bit of that. They're not bad. And let me tell you something. They don't look anything like a Mike Leach offense, okay? They run the football. I think Will Rogers had 15 pass attempts in regulation.
That
Now,
says a lot.
they went to overtime. I'll check that stat, but it was I heard this like
Talking
in
about
passing.
a guy that had 50 a couple times last year.
Well, because that's what
Mike Leach.
That's what Leach did, and that was their offense. So you are going to see a bruising running game next week for Mississippi State. Not anything like what they saw. And I'll be honest with you, Rich. I know we got all week to talk about that game. We need to talk about this game, but when you turn over 17 with the overtime for Rogers, when you turn over an offensive philosophy that drastically, ordinarily there used to be a learning curve. Mississippi State, they look pretty good. They had to hammer out a win against not a bad Arizona team, but they are going to run the heck out of the football. It's not. This looks nothing like the air raid. The air raid is in the past. So that's what you're looking at next Saturday. 499-9898 is the number to call on the LaBerge hotline. We're still watching Cal and Auburn. Cal with a 3-point lead, 7 minutes to go. 3-point lead, 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. 10-7 out in Berkeley. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. 499-9898 is the number on the LeBarish phone lines. We're going to go to that in just a second. But first, a little bit from Brian Kelly following tonight's 72-10 win.
Well, first of all, the most immediate was the injury to Jaquavis Richmond from Grambling. There's he's going to have surgery. It appears that there was good news in terms of him having feeling. I am not obviously at the hospital, but we are so fortunate that he's at Our Lady of the Lakes. He's going to get great care there. So we're hoping for the very best, and our thoughts and prayers are out to he and his family, and certainly the Grambling State family. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that and paid its proper respects. The game is pale in comparison to that. For the game itself, we played the game the right way. We certainly started fast, built great momentum, came out in the third quarter, asserted our will in the third quarter, and then, finished it off, the right way. So pleased with, the way we play the game. Playing this game is, the game of football is hard, and winning's hard regardless of the competition and who you're playing. And Grambling wanted to win. They worked hard all week and practiced hard. They're well coached. I told Coach that. I think that they're a difficult team to defend. They showed that. They were very difficult early on until we had to make some adjustments, and thought we settled down. And then obviously we had 10 straight possessions with touchdowns with no punts, and that's a pretty effective and efficient way of doing things in week two. So we need to meet and exceed that standard week in and week out.
Rich, you made a comment to me just now. The effort issues from a week ago were not there tonight.
No, and in the bad spots is where I noticed it. When they're gashing the defense, those guys were flying down the field from the backside and making tackles. Effort was there all night. That message was met clearly.
499-9898 is the number. Jewel is in New Mexico. Jewel, welcome into the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, it's a couple things. It's when you score 72 points, it's hard to find the negative, but the secondary still looks kind of suspect, and allowing them to, run for 400 yards per carry is kind of awful. But the one thing, listening to Nussmeier's interview at the post-game, can LSU go out and recruit 50 Nussmeiers? I mean, the guy could have left and played for pretty much anybody in college football, but he stayed at LSU, and the guy's just a great kid. I'll hang up and let you go Tigers.
All right, thanks. The transfer portal is a real thing, and I'm more surprised when quarterbacks stay than when they go now.
The last time you had a Nussmeier was Matt Flynn. You don't have those guys that are very capable, very talented, can start anywhere at major college football that sit there and wait their time.
Yeah, it's rare, and usually it involves some other circumstances. Like Mettenberger came here to be a backup first, but that was because he had
He got kicked out of his other school.
That's correct. There were other circumstances there. I'm delighted that Nussmeier's here. I think he's going to be a really good player.
I read it was a while back, maybe in the summer. He got a lot of those questions in the media, and he said that Louisiana's my home. My family's born in I was born in Lake Charles. My family's from Louisiana. I don't want to go anywhere else. And to me, yeah. If you could recruit 100 of them, go get them. But there's not 100 of those guys.
No, it's much harder, and you're re-recruiting your roster every single year. So we'll see. Max is in Baton Rouge. Max, welcome into the show.
Hey, speaking of Garrett Nussmeier, you think Alabama wishes they had him behind center tonight?
Well, I was told that they made inquiries into his availability and were rebuffed. No, they've got some problems at quarterback there.
I think there's about 6 teams.
Yeah.
They got a punt returner back there. They'll figure it out. But my real comment is after last week, tonight wasn't going to change anybody's opinion. But the one thing I saw tonight that has me excited is Lance Hurd. I mean, he's not just big; he's SEC big, and obviously going against Grambling D-line, there's nothing that's going to make you think he's, an All-American. But man, I want to see him keep playing. You think he's going to be in the starting rotation next week and shore up that right side?
Actually, thank you for the call, Max. He's not just SEC big; he's NFL big. But Rich, you zeroed in on him a lot. There's some good and there's some work that needs to be done. Here.
He's a mauler. If you're going to run the ball every play of the game, I want him in there. I want him to be the starting right tackle if you're going to run the ball. He's got a lot to learn in the passing game. He struggled a little bit tonight. He had he leaned bad. He had a little bad position. I don't think he's quite ready. When you're talking about Grambling DNs that putting a move on him and getting by him, I don't want to see that at Alabama, your Floridas, your elite SEC DNs. But what I will say, he killed people in the run game, and that's the first thing you do as a young offensive lineman. You put your hand down and you go get the guy, and he was great, killed people. He needs a little bit more time in the pass game.
Okay, so then this raises a question. You're Brian Kelly. Frazier was a starter for you all last year. He was, I thought, a good player last year. I think he's gotten off to a pretty poor start this year. But it's not like the kid can't play. Jones is a better guard than he is a tackle.
Way more aggressive, I saw tonight. He is an aggressive guard versus he plays a little bit softer on the tackle side.
Which tells me he's more comfortable in there. Okay. So if you're going on the road in the SEC next week, do you want to put this young man out there whose upside is enormous and his right now is pretty good but has some holes in it, or do you go with the more experienced options and try to continue to work him in?
For me right now, I'm not pulling the trigger for an everyday starter in the SEC. But I'll tell you what I want to see in short yardage, goal line, bring him in as the extra tight end, which you see a lot of teams do. You bring two tackles in because our tight ends right now, they got a long way to go. Those guys aren't blocking.
Hey, they both got a catch tonight.
They got catches.
Professor Dixon, I know you're going to be hard on the tight ends.
I'm going to be hard on them because they're a lot bigger than I was. They're a lot faster than I was. But you know what? They're not as mean as I was. They ain't down there trying to kill somebody.
499-9898 is the number. Stefan in Baton Rouge. Stefan, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Thank you again for keeping me awake all the way back to Crowley every night after the game.
All right. Supreme Rice Country.
And this is a popular topic, I know, cornerbacks. I'm not going to beat it to death, but Florida State, we kind of had that excuse. We were against big physical receivers. First half, these weren't really big physical receivers. We were in position. I mean, we had one where Denver Harris was in perfect position. He kind of panicked at the end and got a pass interference. So I guess two questions on that. Number one, do we have other options at corner there, like Sage Ryan was talked about being there? And if so, what do you think our best options going forward with what we have at that position or other places are? And second, do you think this is something that's just rusty guys at a position or someone in a new system that we're going to work through? Or honestly, do you think this is something we're going to struggle with all year? Hang up and listen.
Okay. That's a lot.
We're going to struggle with it all year. These guys are in the right position. There's some technique things that I saw tonight that really, were a little bit glaring after watching them last week. These guys are in position, but it's almost like they're not finding the ball. You got to have that awareness to where you're playing the guy, you feel it, you feel the ball coming, and you got to turn and make a play on the ball. And these guys right now are just playing the man.
So I'm not ready to say they're going to struggle with it all year because they've got some options to go through here. I will tell you that the options that they have right now are severely lacking. So it's sort of like what we're talking about on the right side of the offensive line with Hurd. Is there some upside to an Ashton Stamps, a Javian Toviano? Both those kids got in the game tonight. A LaTerrence Welsh. These are all young players who have not really seen the field very much, but they were all thought of pretty highly coming in here. Are they ready to play? No, not full time. But are you going to work them in? So I really pumped the brakes on they're going to struggle all year. I got to remind myself that I didn't really see Harold Perkins start to make an impact until into the month of October last year. So I'm willing to give it a little bit more time. But your frontline guys right now are lacking, and you're going to have to you're going to have to fight through that until you can ramp some guys up. And maybe it's the guys that you got now. Maybe they'll get better. Maybe they'll make some changes. Getting Denver Harris in the game tonight, I thought was a good deal because 3 weeks ago I didn't know if he was going to still be on the team. So he's there. He's got some talent.
He's got a lot of talent.
Is he going to work? Are you going to work through that? You know,
he put himself in the right positions all night, and he shows you that he's got that elite athleticism. He could make some moves. But, you know, it was the plays where the touchdown in the end zone, he has good coverage, but he doesn't find the ball. You got it. Like, watch the guys at Alabama tonight. There was a couple throws. There was a couple different games. When the guy goes up and high points the ball, they just immediately know the ball's coming and punch through. Our guys are playing the body and not getting on their hands. Like, they're in the right position, but they're not affecting the play.
Well, like I said, right this second, these are the best guys that they've got, and there's a long way to go.
So
a long way to go.
Was the last week the corner from Syracuse, Deuce
Chestnut?
Did he play tonight?
He did not hit the no. He did not.
I never saw him on the field.
No, didn't. I didn't get a report after the game or whatever.
Well, if I had to guess, Kelly sounded. You know, the play when you go back and look at all of his press conferences and you know the interviews he did after the game. He was upset about a lot of people getting inside of him. And he didn't name the guy, but I went back and watched that film way too much.
Yeah.
And it was always Deuce Chestnut, which I thought he was in good position most of the night. But there was a technique issue that obviously Kelly wasn't happy with.
They got a ways to go, and this is going to require them to play some zone.
Well, let's not put it all on the DBs.
No.
There's no pressure on the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to get a better pass rush. So there are issues at all three levels of the defense. Let's not. I'm with you there. Let's not put it all just on the secondary.
Yeah. All you've heard about is secondary. Yep, that's our problem. It's more than that.
It's one of them.
Yeah, it's one of them.
499-9898 is the number on the LeBearish hotline. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues as LSU wins it 72-10. We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Part of the Climate Smart program down near Crowley, Louisiana. We have one of our guys going down back to Crowley, Louisiana. Since the 1930s, Supreme Rice has been down there. The Climate Smart program ensures that future generations of farmers are going to be there and benefiting from it as well. It reduces emissions. It conserves water. Pick up Supreme Rice for your next tailgate, your next family meal. All your AG food stores, your Walmarts, and your Rouse's. Come by and see us at Rouse's for the pregame, and I think next week for the postgame because we're going to be on a little bit early for the pregame. You can get it in the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine. For more information, some great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. Back to the phone lines. Jules is in Abbeville. Jules, welcome into the show.
Hello, fellas. Hey, Richard, the first thing between the players of today and the players of 15 years ago when you played is they're not as tough. We all know that each succeeding generation gets a little bit softer, so they're not as tough as you guys were. I didn't watch the game, so how about a college football overview? Charlie, Rich, Bama down, Tamu down, Auburn, I don't know if they're still down. I think the Sabanological era is over. And what about the SEC? Not being as strong, or
the SEC looks weak right now.
The SEC had a very bad day.
Yeah.
And there are some there's some problems there. I can tell you Alabama. I watched the whole Alabama game alongside the LSU game. Alabama's biggest problem is at quarterback.
That's the only problem.
No, it's not the only. No, I wouldn't say it's the only problem. They gave up a bunch of yards tonight, so no, I wouldn't say it's their only problem. But but
I'm gonna say Ewers is different. He's good.
He is good.
And I will say Sark. That's the best game I've seen Sark call in a while.
It's his biggest win. By far as a head coach.
The way he moved the offense around to open up those lanes, I mean, it's just something that makes you jealous, makes you envious, because it was so much creativity on that offense, the way the guys were moving around, that he had Alabama defenders questioning what they were supposed to do.
Right.
And when you get people questioning because you're like, hold on, there was 3 people to the left, we're supposed to have, I'm second guy in, and now those 3 guys move, one guy moves back out. These guys were thinking the whole time, looking around. It was the smartest game plan I've seen called.
I got a little sick during the week of people I keep hearing this in national media. Texas's roster is just as good as Alabama. They've got a talent advantage. This is the first time Saban hasn't had a talent advantage at home since LSU went in there in 19. And I'm just like, listen, I've heard this song and dance from Texas so many times. It's pretty damn close. But from 1 to 84. Okay, it's pretty close. But the starting quarterback, the gap between Ewers and Milroe is massive.
No doubt.
And that's why Texas got the win tonight. And frankly, were it not for a couple of Alabama big plays, they hit a couple of bombs. This could have been a little bit worse.
Well, I say the quarterback was the biggest issue. You have a Bryce Young in there. He makes those plays.
I don't expect Milroe to be Bryce Young.
No, but I'm talking about just a quarterback. He missed the easy throws. And he's a guy that throws the deep ball well. He's got a hell of an arm. He can throw it deep, but it's the touch on the swing route. It's the 18-yard fade route. It's the dig route. He didn't have the touch to get to the balls, and those guys were open tonight. He missed a lot of guys that just would have made plays, but I'm not going to complain because I love seeing Alabama lose.
Sure. Tennessee is a top 10 team right now. I question whether Joe Milton in a big game, again, plenty arm, but there's a lack of touch there. It's why he's been benched a couple of times in his career before. When Hendon Hooker came in, it's like Hooker does not have as good an arm as Milton, but he is a much more accurate thrower. Ole Miss had to show some guts today. Tulane played with their hair on fire. They gave look if the starting quarterback plays, okay. They got every chance to win that game, and I didn't think the backup played bad. But Pratt is, he's a special guy for them.
He's about to break every record at Tulane in Tulane history.
Correct. So look, Ole Miss, that was a good win today. Texas A&M, I'm sorry. Watching that game, and I'm sure we'll talk about it during the week. The marriage between Jimbo and Petrino is every bit the mess I thought it was going to be. They scored 33 points today. They got 2 point-blank touchdowns because of special teams. They blocked a punt, which give them credit for blocking the punt, and then they got a muff punt down around the 12-yard line, so they've got 2 short drives. Other than that, they put one real strong drive together, and defensively they were terrible today. So that doesn't look very good. I'm going to sit my good friend Jimmy Ott and my other good friend Jacob Hester down and explain to them that Kentucky is not as good as they think for probably the 3rd consecutive year. Arkansas struggled with a terrible Kent State team for 2.5, almost 3 quarters today. Mississippi State, I thought it was a good win against Arizona, and then the other games were kind of rental wins, but no. And Auburn is losing right now. Cal's got a 3-point lead with 11 minutes to go, and they're on the 15-yard line going in. So, this is going to be – they're going to have to come from behind if they win here.
Did you watch much of the Tennessee game?
I didn't watch any of the Tennessee game.
Remember,
I'll be honest with you.
what I did, I was watching the LSU game on my phone. I had the Alabama game on the TV, but I'm sitting there scrolling in ESPN.
Sure.
I'm looking at it. At one point, that Tennessee game was a 7-point game.
It was 13-6 at the half, and they got a touchdown in the 3rd quarter, but Austin Peay hung around.
I remember
kept
looking at it. I was like, that doesn't look good.
No, this was not a banner day for the league by any stretch.
I'll say Ole Miss played better in the second half. I think the adrenaline, the quarterback, the backup quarterback for Tulane, he played lights out the first half. His mistakes were when the game got close towards the end. He started missing a few throws, holding on to the ball too long.
Let me tell you what surprised me more than anything about that game was that Ole Miss could not rush Judkins. He ended up with under 3 yards a carry, and it's not like they didn't try. I want to say he had 18, 19 carries in the game.
I want to say they had over 35 for the game.
Let's see. Yeah, they did. 35 exactly at 2.5 yards per. That Tulane defensive front was not
in the backfield all night.
Was not beat up at all.
When I told you when I walked in, I said Tulane's front 7 looked like an SEC front 7.
They did. And boy, they played hard today.
Yeah.
I mean, they were laying out. I realize that's a huge game on that campus. They caught a bad break on the 4th down late in the game, a little over 2 minutes to go. They're on about the 32-yard line. They were going to play 4th and 1, and Tulane absolutely stacked it up, and they were going to get the ball back down 1 score. And they called a false start, okay?
Yeah.
But they didn't not make it because of the false start.
No, they hit him in the backfield.
They got a huge surge up there, so it wasn't like a broken play. They were going to stop him. They move it back 5 yards, and Kiffin decides to kick a 56-yard field goal, which I thought was a mistake at the time.
The career long for the field goal kicker was 40 at the time.
Well, he drills it, okay? Tulane comes back down the field. They get a field goal. They miss a touchdown. They drop a ball in the front corner of the end zone, and then Tulane Ole Miss goes back down and score, and then they get the pick, the turnover. The fumble to make it look a lot worse. Yeah. If you just look at it and you go 37-20, that was about right. Ole Miss won and they covered. They did win and they did cover, and this was a 1-score game with 2.5 minutes to go, and Tulane had every opportunity to win that game.
Now, I will say, just from a mentality standpoint, and I don't know the Ole Miss locker room, how they are, but when you're Ole Miss, you're an SEC team going against Tulane, and then all of a sudden you find out the starting quarterback's not playing.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like that first half, Ole Miss was like, all right, it's Tulane. They don't even have their starting quarterback.
It wasn't right from jump. It was after the touchdown. They scored in 3 plays to open the game. Then
it's that mental side. You're like, okay, it's Tulane. We're going to be good. They're a good Tulane team. Wait, hold on. Their starting quarterback's not playing? All right, guys, we're going to be good. And they looked lax that first half.
Horton did some nice things. He missed some throws, but he wasn't completely incompetent back then. That was a good ball game.
No, it was a great game. It was
a very good game. 499-9898 is the number on the LeBarish hotline. Keith is in Birmingham. Keith, welcome into the show.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, Keith.
Hey, I'm just getting back to New Orleans from the game. I'm sure we're all concerned about the secondary. But I'm looking at Harold, and I'm thinking like, man, they probably should put Harold at safety. Do y'all think he could play safety?
No,
No, he can't cover
he
linebacker.
can't. He's not very good in coverage. He's the right size to play back there, but he's not
Yeah.
very good in coverage.
Man.
I know what you're saying, and I get where you're coming from, and somewhere down the line, maybe that
It
maybe that
clicks
is
for him. He works it out.
but not right now. No, I wouldn't say.
He just looks a little bit off this year. I mean, he was on the outside all night tonight, and he had plenty of rush opportunities that he just kind of rushed down the middle and just got sucked up by the tackle.
All right. Well, I don't know. Based on what y'all just said, and I'm observing the Auburn game now, I feel a lot better than I do last week about LSU not really facing a team nearly as good as Florida State. I wasn't like sold on that initially, but
Me neither.
yeah, I think they can rally. I like the way Logan Diggs looked running the ball. He looks explosive. I'm ready for John Emery to come back. I think they can make a run. I do want to see if Denver Harris can improve. That was kind of surprising. But
Surprising? Why?
Huh?
Why would you say that's surprised that he played? Is that what you mean?
That's why I was surprised he played that early.
Well,
I was surprised that he kind of gave up a couple plays early. I mean, but Grambling was probably just highly motivated.
yeah. Well, they did make a couple of plays. Keith, thanks for the call. The only reason I was maybe a little bit surprised that he got in there as early as he did was
He's been in the doghouse. For
I
so long.
never know if he's.
I didn't know if he's part of the team. He's going to be with the team.
He's been in and out.
Yeah.
For most of camp.
But he got in the first quarter.
No, absolutely.
And I was like, oh, that was early. I mean, I didn't know if he's going to be on the team right now.
When I first saw him, I said, "Okay, this is good because he's eligible and he's ready to." They think he's ready enough to play to put him out there. So let's see. I didn't think he played particularly well early, but at least he's out there. It tells me that they're going through options back there. They're not going to just say these are our two guys and these are the only two guys or 2 or 3 guys. No, they're going to look at kids.
They played Welsh. They played Stamps early. I'm not talking
And
about late in the game.
They had that luxury tonight
Yeah.
because of the big lead. You won't have that next week. You're
I
going
thought
to have
Stamps was in position all night. It's just the little things we always talk about. I mean, Denver Harris was in position. I think he was one of those guys that was pressing. Like, he's been in trouble. He's been third string. He's been in the media. He wanted to go make a big play, and I felt like he was pressing really hard. He had the touchdown over him. He was in position. He didn't make the little play, just like I talk about. He had his hands on the body, not going for the ball. The pass interference, he tugged the hell out of him. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a bad one.
Okay, here's some. We talked about this with Mason Smith. He hasn't played very much. Denver Harris hadn't played a game in, 12 months?
Yeah.
Something like that, because somewhere around, I think the last game he played for A&M was in October last year, so maybe not quite 12 months.
The athleticism I saw tonight was way increased with Stamps and Denver Harris. They're different breeds of athletes.
There's something you got to work with.
Yeah.
You got something to work with. 499-9898 is the number to call on the LeBear's hotline. This is Eagle, 98.1 Game Day.
98.1.
Eagle on 8.1 Game Day continues. LSU wins it 72-10 tonight. By the way, on Logan Diggs from the Florida State game, he went through warm-ups and his hamstring tightened up on him. So they held him out.
I needed to hear that tonight.
Yeah, that's
because he's a different player. I told you last week, it's when you have those elite running backs, you have guys that make one cut. They're just like a try-hard running back is what I call it.
Yeah.
He's different, and you see it just like I think Caleb Jackson. There's something with them. They have vision. They have a different little step to it. Those are the running backs I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, that's from Gordy. He was down on the field. He watched pregame and into the hamstring tightened up on him a little bit, so they held him. 499-9898 is the number. The LaBerge hotline. Grant is in Lafayette. Grant, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
I want to know what your thoughts are on the production of the defensive line and if you think they're being affected by their position coach not being available. And have you heard anything on his return? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, guys.
Okay. First of all, I think it's going to be a long recovery. So I'm not expecting him back, anytime soon. The production of the defensive line.
I'm not going to say it's because the coach is not there.
No, I don't think so either. They've had. That happened very early in camp.
Yeah.
They made those adjustments. I don't think that's it, but I can't tell you that I'm over the moon about their production earlier.
No, I mean they're running straight down the middle of bodies. I don't see a lot of guys trying to beat them to the outside. I don't see guys getting edges. It's more like it's the hold them up, read, and watch the quarterback. It's almost like you're playing a scrambling quarterback every week. You're trying to hold the guy, watch him, and just not get out of position.
Looking for a little bit more in the pass rush game from the ends. Sure, but
we have one sack on the year, and it's from a defensive tackle. We have 4 pressures on the year. 3 of them are from defensive tackles. You want to see it from the edge. We don't have that edge play right now.
Yeah, that's a chilling stat you just gave there. I didn't have that one right at the top of my head. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good that you came up with the stat. Not a pretty good.
That's what I'm mad about. Yeah, so I've already looked into it.
Okay, thanks for keeping us up on that one. John is in St. Francisville. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Charlie. Hey, Richard. Thanks for what y'all do, man. Great post-game show.
Thanks.
Love it. I have a comment, a couple questions. Thought Greg Penn played a really good game tonight. Thought he did really well. What's the status on Omar Spikes? He was in.
Yeah, he was in street clothes in the second half. I got an injury report. It was nothing. They didn't tell me it was anything serious.
In the second half, when there's guys dinged up, they're not going to put him in that game.
Right. So
I get that.
I don't think it's anything serious. If it was he
wouldn't come back out.
Right. They would have told me.
Well, and here's my question too. Okay, so we've been playing the cornerback, looking for who's the best fit. Sage Ryan in the fall scrimmages, wasn't he put in there? We haven't seen him at cornerback.
We did last week.
He played last week.
Well, you saw him a little bit, but you saw him more at safety than you did cornerback. Because I think corner is where we're as weak in our secondary as any place. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I'll agree with that
safety too.
But I'm not sure Sage Ryan is your answer there either.
No, I agree.
I think Stamps and Denver Harris didn't have his best game, but when you're talking about just pure athletic ability and being in a position to make a play, they were there all night. They just got to they got to flip that switch and become playmakers and not just position holders.
I get it, guys. Again, thanks for what you do. Go Tigers.
Thank you, John.
Look forward to hehearing from y'all next week.
All right, we appreciate it. We'll be on considerably earlier next week.
I'll be so excited about next week.
We'll be on a little bit longer on the post-game show. 499-9898 is the number. LaBerge hotline. Charlie's in Lafayette. Charlie, welcome in the show.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good to talk to y'all driving home. I think players today, I don't know, I turned it off because I had to stop and listen to that old guy from Abbeville saying players aren't as tough anymore. They're bloody tough, Just some people need to jump into a time warp or something. But anyway, that's not what I called about. I think one of the things that you, from last year, you don't realize how how much of a force B.J. Ojolari was last year in Allie Gay, and they helped Harold Perkins be kind of the player he was. So you've got a lot of people that you're replacing there. You just got to see if Savion Jones and people like that can, get to that point. But I'm still optimistic about, because I think the SEC's personally down this year, except for Georgia. And I think they've got games. Everyone's winnable. I think they're going to win next week at Mississippi State. I think they'll up their game, get better each week. The game that scares me the most down the stretch, leading up to the break, is the Ole Miss game, because you got Jackson's Dart, you got Lane Kiffin and whatever. But I mean, I think it's set up for them to make a nice run, and they can get better each week. And that's what they did last year. So I'm not panicking. They got beat by a really good team last week, but 3 or 4 plays would have been different against Florida State. You would have had a totally different result. So, you got to make the plays. You just got to make it happen. And I'm going to stay optimistic what I'm going to see the rest of the year. But I enjoy what you guys do. I know when I'm listening to your program with Charlie and Richard, I'm going to get intelligent analysis.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate the call.
He made a great point to me, and I hadn't really thought about it. Harold Perkins was a third thought at first last year. With Allie Gay and B.J. Ojolari coming off the edge, they were more focused on that. We don't have an edge rush right now that has to be worried about. He's going to be the main focus on the pass rush.
Yeah, it's a reasonable point. He did explode onto the scene when he started to play, and it wasn't until about really kind of mid-season. Well, no, I say mid-season when they play Ole Miss, whatever. That was
5 games.
Yeah, okay. So deep into September, early October was when the world started to go, hey, look at that dude. I don't know how you fix that, because you can't bring those other 2 guys back. I would like to be getting more out of the defensive ends right now.
You need Jones to step up. You need those guys to become playmakers, make plays, make it to where they have 3 guys to think about. Right now, as Harold Perkins, everybody was focused on. When everybody went to summer programs, they scout 3 teams. You scout your first 3 games. That's what everybody's been working on. And when you go, I guarantee if you talk to anybody that was working on this game plans for Florida State, Grambling, Harold Perkins was the first thought on the offensive side of the ball.
Sure, and if you watched him in the Arkansas game, just to pick one,
he won the game for us in Arkansas.
You could see exactly how big of an impact he was having. I was hoping for more. You're talking about Savion Jones, who's a first-time starter. Ogie Agofu, who played a lot of football at Texas.
Yeah,
I was hoping for more from that. But what Charlie was saying about the schedule and the game that scares him, let me tell you what game scares me. All of them, because there ain't in a conference. Okay,
Mississippi State 11 a.m. in Starkville scares me every year. I don't care who we are.
Sure, just the non-conference games that are in the second half of the season. I'm not talking about right now. You got 5 SEC games in a row, and if I could wake Jimmy up right now, I'd have a definite line on all of these things. But I'm looking at Mississippi State, at home against Arkansas, at Ole Miss, at Missouri, and at home against Auburn. I'm not sure right this second that there's a point spread in any of those games that's over a touchdown.
No,
I think you're looking, certainly not at Ole Miss. At Mississippi State, I think they're going to be a small favorite, but I'd be surprised if it was more than a touchdown. I think it's probably
9?
closer to. No, I think it's probably closer to 4 or 5.
Okay.
But we'll see on Monday. I'm not as good at this as he is, but the Arkansas game at home, depending on what happens next week, maybe a touchdown. But my point is, they're not going to be a 20-point favorite in any of these games. None of these games are supposed to be, a complete walkover. We're not talking about games like in 2019 when they came back and played Arkansas and they were a 35-point favorite because LSU was great that year and Arkansas was terrible. That game's not on the schedule
There's
this
too
year.
many questions right now.
I mean, maybe deeper in the season, if Florida and Texas A&M fall apart. But I'm talking these next 5 games, the next 5 weeks, there is not a gimme. not a one. Yeah, they may win them all. They
What's
probably
Missouri?
probably won't win them all. They probably won't lose them all.
Is Missouri in the next 5?
Missouri's the fourth one out of that. And
that's the only one I feel.
And again, the spread for, say, the Auburn game at home, which is 5 weeks from now, is going to fluctuate between now and the time that game happens, depending on what the teams do. Auburn's taking the lead, by the way. It's 14-10, under 5 minutes to go. But even if they are a little bit better than a touchdown favorite in any of these games, none of these games are gimmies.
Well, we said it on Friday that they can go out and win by 70, and we're not going to learn much this week.
No. Well, we learned a little bit.
I'll tell you what we learned a little bit is, Chris Hilton can take the top off of it. We hadn't seen it. We knew about it. He made his plays. Caleb Jackson, extreme athlete.
Yeah. The two running backs that we saw.
Different.
Yes. The two running backs that we saw are better.
Yeah.
And we had heard that. We saw a little bit of it in practice. But, yes, we've seen it in a game now. And we know that the right tackle is not going to throw up in himself if he goes into the game, okay? He's got some technique work to do.
I want him in on every goal line position from here on out.
Okay, well, I can't.
If we bring,
Richard, they can't just put him in on the running plays and take him out on the pass plays.
You can on the goal line because you're about to go.
Yes, on the goal line.
We had another one tonight. We were first and goal from the 4, and we have to punch it on 4th and 1. That makes me sick. I'm so tired of that.
Okay, I'm with you there. Goal line
we
package.
We have to do a QB sneak on the
short
4th
yardage
and 1.
package. Yes, he should definitely be in the game. 499-9898 is the number to call on LeBear's hotline. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. Cal trying to pull this thing out here against Auburn. This is one of the odder matchups. Auburn and
you said you had to wake him up earlier. He's probably got money on that game. He might be awake.
Oh no, he's awake. He's not going to answer his phone. 25-yard line for Cal going in, 1st and 20, 3:15, the clock running to go. Auburn leads at 14-10. So they are inside the 25-yard line now, trying to pull this thing out. Let's go back to the phone lines. LaBerge Hotline. Hunter's in Baton Rouge. Hunter, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks. Y'all were talking about schedule earlier. I love that we have Louisiana teams that are getting this money to come in and play LSU, get some great experience for their guys, get a shot in the arm to their budget of their athletic programs. But, pretty soon we're going to have Oklahoma, we're going to have Texas coming into the SEC. And, I don't know if we're going to continue to be able to have these gimme games, if you will. I wanted to know your thoughts on that and how does that play out?
Okay. What I think is going to happen or what I would like to see
What I'd
happen.
like to see is an all-conference schedule with a big Power 5 deal.
Yeah. Look, when they go to 9 conference games, and they will go to 9 conference games, it's just a matter of getting the money straight.
Week 0?
You
want it week 0?
Well, I want week 0. Yeah. If you're going to play a game against an FCS school, then it should be played in week 0.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. And I don't listen. I'm delighted that all of these other schools in the state got a big paycheck, and it's going to help their programs.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the kids that went to all these other schools. They get to play in Tiger Stadium, and that's great. I am not for FBS schools playing FCS schools. The level of resources is drastically different. There's a player safety element to it, and I don't take that lightly with a young man in the hospital tonight, but and we've seen that happen before. Now it could happen in any game. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that, but there's a player safety component to it. It's a cash grab. Okay, it's a cash grab for the big school. It's a cash grab for the small school. They're almost never competitive games. So if it was me, I would do away with FBS versus FC. Yes, there's nothing that I would want. I wouldn't want this to continue if I was doing it. Now,
to his point, if we're going to do it,
if you're going to do it in state. Okay, I don't need you playing. They brought Towson in a few years ago. Okay, no, if you're going to bring in Towson, bring in Nichols, bring in Southern, bring in McNeese, bring in Grambling. When they go to 9 games. There's a question whether the league will require them, as they do now, to play another Power 5. For that matter, there won't be a Power 5 for very much longer.
No.
The Pac-12 is down to 2 schools. So what that looks like, also what the AQs look like in the playoff, is going to determine how they schedule going forward. And there's still a lot of questions to be decided about that. What I think is going to happen, okay, is that you will see LSU play 9 conference games and 1 Power 5 outside of the conference games. And then they will play 1 FCS school or a school like an FCS school, and they'll play somebody in the middle. I think there's a schedule somewhere, I forget which year, where they're playing non-conference. I think it's Clemson, South Alabama, and Nichols. One of these years, 25 or 26. Yeah, okay. Something like that, all right, is what I think you're going to see. But I would definitely take that FCS game, okay? If you're playing an FCS game, you can play it in week 0 as long as it's on television. Put it up there. Get some of the kinks worked out. Would LSU have beaten Florida State if they had played Grambling first? Probably not, based on what I've seen out of Florida State so far, but they'd have had a better opportunity at it. But even if that's not true, even if these 2 games were reversed in their order and finished with exactly the same score, I'd still take it because I get a bye somewhere later in the season.
No doubt.
I also get my team back to campus a little bit earlier. I get my fans excited. Listen, I'm sorry, from a football standpoint, this is a hard sell. FBS versus FCS is a hard sell. I can sell it a lot better in week 0 because in week 0, I'll watch anybody.
It's like a high school jamboree.
Yeah.
I went to the jamboree game for Central this year because I'm just so ready to see football.
You're ready to see football.
Yeah.
We watched from start to finish, did not miss a play of Notre Dame and Navy. Okay? Notre Dame and Navy play in the middle of October. I probably don't watch a play.
They played today. I wouldn't have watched it.
No.
Yeah.
There's other things I want to watch. You put it in week 0, give me my popcorn. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to play this game and you want to generate some interest in it, play it in week 0. You get the other bye. You get your team back to campus a little bit earlier. You get the second bye, and by the way, the second bye, it's a huge deal.
The biggest deal.
Even if it's in week, what would it be? The second to last week of the season be week 12. Okay, well, you only got one more game left to play. I hope
give me my buys in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter of the season.
I hope that the game against Texas A&M means something most years, and I hope further than that LSU's playing in the Southeastern Conference Championship a number of those years. A bye in week 12 is like manna from heaven. Okay, at that point. So yes, if you're going to continue to do these things, please do them in week 0. But I think that's where we're heading. There's a wrestling match in the league over exactly how they're going to do this. I think that the big schools are going to win and the little schools are going to lose. The bottom schools in the conference, the bottom 8 schools in the conference, don't want to play non-conference games. It's going to cost them a gate. It's going to maybe cost them a bowl game in some years, and they're just they're not into it. But the top half of the league mostly does. And even if that wasn't true, even if all 16 teams wanted to keep it at 8 conference games, there's 16 athletic directors that are going to go cash a check from ESPN. And so they're going to, as soon as ESPN gets their money straight, like the ACC did a better contract than the SEC did on this because they wrote it in. If we add teams, you got to pay us. I forgot how much money it is per team, but it's somewhere in the area of $1 million to $2 million per member institution per year for every school they add. So it doesn't matter if Cal moves the needle or Stanford moves the needle or SMU moves the needle for them. ESPN, by contract, has to pay them when those teams enter the league. SEC doesn't have that provision. Yeah. So when they came in and said, we got Texas and Oklahoma, man. We're going to give you Oklahoma LSU next year. We're going to give you Texas and Georgia. I don't even know who's playing who. I don't have it in front of me. But you know what I'm saying. We're going to give you Tennessee and Oklahoma. We're going to give you Florida and Texas. We're going to give you these premium games. Give us some more money. And ESPN was like, no. And so they were like, well, then we're not giving it to you. We're holding on to this inventory because that's our only leverage. Once we go to 9 games, we're not going backwards.
Yeah.
And if you give it to ESPN now and they just decide they're not going to up the ante, well, then you're never going to get that money back.
My question is, who decides how many week 0 games there are?
You have to apply for it.
Because I would think every college football coach in major college football, give me a second bye. I'll play in week 0 for a second bye.
No restrictions on week 0 games was brought up and tabled at the last time they met about this. It didn't. I was surprised, actually. I thought it would get going a little bit.
I would think every big team would want it, and they would be pushing for it.
And they don't, for whatever reason. And I have asked multiple times and have yet to be given a good reason why LSU doesn't play in week.
We just don't know about it.
Well, I've yet to be given a good reason, okay? I've heard, well, we got some pushback. Give me a good reason, okay? Like, it's prohibited. Like, if
I'm just
you have
thinking
to play,
as a coach,
I know.
You want 2 bye weeks. Like, they would do anything to have a warm-up game. Okay, let's knock the kinks out. Now let's go play a big game. Then we get a second bye week. I would see there would be a problem. It'd be a bidding war to get into week 0 versus people not applying for it.
So you can't just schedule a week 0 game, okay? You have to. There's a number of ways you can do it. You can play an FCS school and make sure it's on TV. You can play Hawaii at some point in your schedule. And then it was Conference USA passed something a couple of years ago where they were like, we'll just let our teams play in week 0. But you can't just do it right now. I thought that would come up for vote, where they would say, you can play if you want to play in week 0, play in week 0. You can play whoever you want, wherever you want, whatever time of day you want. Put it on TV, don't put it on TV, you can play. That didn't make it.
Yeah.
That didn't make it up for vote. I suspect that at some point it might, but it hasn't so far. It's just another. At some point, the TV dollars are going to be on the table.
Yeah.
When they run out of revenue sources, additional revenue sources, they're going to say, where can we make more money? And the networks are going to say, give us a full slate in week 0, and we'll play the college football season over an extra week, and we'll give you this much more money. And the schools will say, okay. They're not there yet.
When we get a full slate in week 0, does it become week 1?
It probably ought to be called week 1 now, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yes, it really probably should be. What we got here? Auburn trying to run the clock out. In fact, they are going to run the clock out. Cal's out of timeout. So Auburn's going to hold on here for a 14-10 win there in victory formation. Final seconds drifting off there. We'll take a break.
I'm just watching that Auburn game and seeing Hugh Freeze. And when I think about his offenses historically, I wish Bo Nix was back. If Bo Nix was with Hugh Freeze, that's what he needs.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree, because Bo Nix has started. I think his next start will be his 50th.
I think I saw today they played during the LSU game. I think Jaden Daniels was 3rd. Hartman was 2nd, and Bo Nix was 1st in the most starts in college football.
49 starts. Next week will be 50. So yeah, Hugh Freeze this is his 5th head coaching job. The other 4, he has averaged 4.5 wins more than the year before he got there in his first year. So Auburn was one of my picks. I like them to win more games. Freeze is a difference maker. Not wild about the human being, okay? Not wild about his attitude.
Those problems.
But, I don't like being preached to by hypocrites. The guy can coach football, okay?
He knows what he's doing.
Yes, he's very, very good as a football coach. We'll take a break. 499-9898 is the number. The Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Brandon Holly here. Siding, windows, even doors. ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1 WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Call in Baton Rouge. I'm remembering what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day Stat Check. Presented by Luba. Luba, genuine dependability.
All right, take a look at the yardstick. LSU out first down, Grambling 34-16. Total yards 622 for LSU, 320 for Grambling. Passing, LSU 24 of 34 for 320 yards. Grambling 15 of 31 for 157 yards. 9.4 yards per pass for LSU, 5.1 for Grambling. 1 interception thrown in the game by Grambling. Rushing yards, LSU 48 for 302, 6.3 yard average. This is probably the most disturbing stat on the sheet. 29 rushing attempts for Grambling for 163 yards, a 5.6 yard average. Third downs, Grambling 3 of 12, LSU 11 of 14. LSU also made 2 of 3 on fourth down. Grambling was 0-1. Penalties, 13 for Grambling for 104 yards, 2 for LSU for 20. Pretty clean.
2 for 2.
That's not bad. 2 turnovers for Grambling, none for LSU. Time possession, 33-11 for LSU, 26-49 for Grambling. Individual stats, Jaden Daniels, 18 of 24, 269, 5 touchdown passes. In the all of that came in the first half. Garrett Nussmeier, 4-6 for 48 yards. And Ricky Collins made his LSU debut. He completed both of his passes. Miles Crawley, 14 of 25, 148 yards, a touchdown, and a pick for Grambling. LSU rushing, Logan Diggs, 15 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown, 7.7 per carry. Caleb Jackson made his first college appearance, 11 carries, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.6 yard average. Josh Williams rushed for 43 yards. Noah Kane for 33. Jaden Daniels for 29. Chance Williams led the way for Grambling. 7 carries, 106 yards.
Pretty good.
15 yards a carry.
That was all in the first half because I don't think he got a carry in the second half.
Jacob Jones, 4 carries for 47 yards. And Floyd Chalk, 7 carries for 25 yards on the way to 163. Malik Neighbors led the way, receiving 5 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. Brian Thomas, 6-78, 2 touchdowns. Kyron Lacey, 3 for 62 and a touchdown. And Chris Hilton, 2 for 53 and a score. Antonio Jones, 7 catches for 81 yards to lead the way for Grambling. Defensively, Zy Alexander and Wes Weeks both had 6 tackles for LSU. Andre Sam, Major Burns, and Greg Penn. Oh, we had a question about Greg Penn earlier. He had 5 tackles in the game tonight. What do you think?
I thought he played good. I mean, he made a lot of plays early. He fits that position better than what Harold was doing.
Yeah. Kevin Thomas with 11 tackles for Grambling, and Nori Johnson with 8. LSU did not punt the football. Had 1 punt return. It was Greg Clayton was back there. 22 yards on the punt return.
You needed that.
If I had a little bit of time, I'd go back and see how long it's been since LSU brought a punt back that far. Thinking it might have been like Derek Stingley against Georgia Southern or something. It's been. I'm sure I'm missing several, but
it feels like we hadn't had a punt return in a while.
Yes, very much so. Grambling punted 4 times tonight for a 44-yard average, and that is your stat check. We'll come back. Full scoreboard, full day in college football, and lots of stuff happening. We'll do that when we return. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
98.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln, on air line into the giant American flag.
We still got games in progress. Well, one game in progress. Hawaii and Albany at 17 apiece in the third quarter. USC run out the clock on Stanford. That one just went final 56-10. USC wins at Caleb Williams. 3 more touchdown passes there. All right, everything else is in the books. Let's go back to the top. Number 1, Georgia beats Ball State 45-3. Carson Beck with a couple of touchdown passes for UGA. Scoreless first quarter. They got 31 in the second quarter. Number 2, Michigan beat UNLV 35-7 today. A couple of touchdown passes for J.J. McCarthy and 3 on the ground for Blake Corum. Big upset of the day, number 11, Texas beat number 3 Alabama 34-24. Quinn Ewers with the monster day, 349 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe threw 2 interceptions for Alabama. 21-8 in the fourth quarter in favor of the Longhorns. Alabama took the lead, and then Texas came back, went down the field in about 4 plays, I believe.
Texas is the real deal.
They really showed something.
Ewers is a great quarterback. We saw it last year when he played against Alabama. It was a close game. He got hurt. Alabama wins the game. I think Ewers doesn't get hurt last year. They win 2 years in a row. He's unbelievable. Texas looks good.
Number 4, Florida State looked good. 66-13, they beat Southern Miss. Jordan Travis threw a couple of touchdown passes. Keon Coleman, 3 catches for 48 yards. This one was 31-3 at the half, so I'd imagine they pulled up a little bit as far as some of the starters in the second half when they beat Southern Miss 35-10 just in the second half. Number 5, Ohio State beat Youngstown State 35-10. McCord threw 3 touchdown passes, but something's not quite right.
The game was tight early on. Ohio State doesn't look like they're clicking.
Number 7, Penn State beat Delaware 63-7. Number 8, Washington beat Tulsa 43-10. Michael Penix threw for 409 yards and 3 touchdowns. Number 9, Tennessee struggled early but pulled away from Austin Peay 30-13. This game was 13-6 at the half. Number 10, Notre Dame beat NC State 45-24. Sam Hartman threw 4 touchdown passes. Long rain delay in this one. Not the longest rain delay, but man, NC State. They lose the game, and their brand-new scoreboard got fried. Got hit by lightning, man. It was a mess. Number 12, Utah trailed most of the day against Baylor, but scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to win 20-13.
They scored twice with 2 minutes left in the game.
They did. Baylor threw what I would just have to tell you, Shane Robertson, one of the worst interceptions that I've seen recently. There's throwing late over the middle where – all they got to do is punt, and Utah's got to go the length of the field, or they're going to go to overtime. But they gave it to them at point-blank range. And then, after that, Utah scores with, I think it was 17 seconds to go. Baylor actually gets behind the defense. They complete a ball down 25-yard line-ish with 1 second to go. So they get a ball to the end zone, which, could have conceivably tied it. So Utah dodged that one. Number 13, Oregon beat Texas Tech 38-30. Texas Tech led most of the way in this one. Oregon scored 20 points in the fourth quarter. Bo Nix threw for 359 yards and 2 touchdowns. This one will be on Scott Van Pelt on Monday night because Texas Tech was leading 30-28. Oregon had to go down the field. They kick a field goal with about a minute to go. It's 31-30. Texas Tech gets back up close to midfield, about the 40, maybe the 45-yard line, and then a fumble return for a touchdown makes it 38-30. It was Texas Tech +5.
That one a little personal for you?
I was asking for a friend. Number 15, Kansas State beat Troy 42-13. Number 16, Oregon State beat UC Davis 55-7. Number 17, North Carolina beat Appalachian State 40-34 in double overtime. Need to quit scheduling those guys. North Carolina was on a knee for a field goal from 39 yards to win it at the end of regulation. Missed. Had to go to double overtime. This one was 63-61 last year.
Yeah.
And Appalachian State beat them, I think it was in 19. So the Mountaineers bring it. North Carolina was lucky to get out today. Number 18, Oklahoma beat SMU 28-11. Washington State beats number 19, Wisconsin 31-22. Great game down at Yulman Stadium. Number 20, Ole Miss beats number 24, Tulane 37-20. There was a scoop and score late.
Game was way closer than
very, very close. Jackson Dart threw for 267 yards and 2 touchdowns. Number 21, Duke beat Lafayette 42-7. Colorado goes to 2-0. They beat Nebraska 36-14. The number 22 ranked Buffaloes. Shedeur Sanders 393 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns. Gameday's headed to Boulder next week when they take on Colorado State.
That's the most shocking team. I mean, they got everybody's attention. I know so many people that have DirecTV that have problems getting Fox. We're downloading Fubo today. Everybody wanted to watch that game. It's awesome what they're doing.
The offense, the
offensive line, the lines play. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah," but when they play guys that got a defensive line, they're not going to be able to do anything. They blocked well.
They did, and I'll tell you what else they did today. They played defense.
Yeah.
The defensive line played a lot better. They shut Nebraska out in the first half. Now, Jeff Sims turned the ball over 3 times, but Colorado had something to do with that. They were much better defensively than they were a week ago.
They're way much more. They're more versatile on offense. Travis Henry was not the player tonight. They had another receiver go for 160, whatever it was, a couple touchdowns. I mean, they got a lot of players over there.
Miami beat number 23 Texas A&M 48-33. Tyler Van Dyke threw 5 touchdown passes, threw for 374 yards. Texas A&M got 2 touchdowns off of special teams where they were set up in primo field position. This was actually worse.
It was worse than it looks.
And they lost by 15. Number 25, Clemson, struggled in the first quarter but pulled away from Charleston Southern 66-17. Cole Klubnik threw 4 touchdown passes there. Wake Forest beat Vandy 36-20, another game delayed by rain quite a bit. Army beat Delaware State 57-zip. Purdue beat Virginia Tech 24-17. They played that game in a brisk 9 hours, 5.5-hour lightning delay in Blacksburg. Yuck. Boston College beat Holy Cross 31-28. It was James Madison over Virginia 36-35. JMU got 12 points unanswered in the fourth quarter. It was Georgia Tech over South Carolina State 48-13. Central Michigan beat New Hampshire 45-42. Bowling Green beat Eastern Illinois 38-15. Kentucky beat Eastern Kentucky 28-17. Devin Leary threw 4 touchdown passes for the Wildcats. BYU beat Southern Utah 41-16. It was Iowa over Iowa State 20-13. This was the Candidates Bowl. You know, the Iowa, Iowa caucuses are right at the. Trump was there. DeSantis was there. It was like politicians' row up there.
Bad ball.
Still went under the total. Said they apt to do in that game. Michigan State beat Richmond 45-14. Northwestern over UTEP 38-7. Syracuse, I probably should give Northwestern a little bit more credit than that. It's been a long time since they won a football game, since week 0 of last year.
I remember when I was a kid, they were good. They were decent at least. They had good running backs.
This was when Fitzgerald was playing?
Yeah.
They were. Syracuse beat Western Michigan 48-7. It was Miami of Ohio over UMass 41-27. UTSA beat Texas State 20-13. Navy shut out Wagner 24-zip. Southern Illinois over Northern Illinois 14-11. Toledo beats Texas Southern 71-3. Arkansas over Kent State 28-6. This was ugly. In the first half, halfway through the second quarter, Arkansas had 14 yards of total offense against Kent State.
Yeah.
Last week gave up over 700 yards to Central Florida. Arkansas's first touchdown was on a pick six. They didn't score on offense until late in the second quarter.
That's ugly.
Unless you're going to see them here in the very near future, this was not a good look for them today, but they do go to 2-0.
It wasn't just a few years ago Kent State had open tryouts on campus.
Well, they returned the fewest starters of any team in the FBS, 4.
Okay.
And last week looked all the best to be the worst team in D1 in the FBS. I mean, Central Florida beat them by 50 and turned the ball over 3 times. So I expected Arkansas to blow the doors off today. This was not anything like that.
I want to go back a couple games. UTSA beating Texas State. Wasn't it Texas State that beat Baylor last week?
It was. 42-31. Yes, absolutely. Marshall beat East Carolina 31-13. San Jose State over Cal Poly 59-3. Wyoming over Portland State 31-17. South Alabama beat Southeastern 35-17. It was Liberty over New Mexico State 33-17. West Virginia beat Duquesne 56-17. Ohio over Florida Atlantic 17-10. Old Dominion beat UL Lafayette 38-31. Akron over Morgan State 24-21. Fordham over Buffalo 40-37. Cincinnati over Pitt 27-21. Coastal Carolina beat Jacksonville State 30-16. Georgia State over UConn 35-14. La Tech beat Northwestern State 51-21. Missouri goes to 2-0. They beat Middle Tennessee, but it was a struggle. 23-19, your final there. Western Kentucky beat Houston Christian 52-22. UCF over Boise State on the Smurf turf 18-16. Rice beat Houston 43-41 in double overtime. It was Memphis over Arkansas State 37-3. South Florida beat FAMU 38-24. Idaho over Nevada 33-6. Florida beat McNeese 49-7. Maryland over Charlotte 38-20. Minnesota over Eastern Michigan 25-6. Mississippi State beat Arizona 31-24. This was in overtime. I was bragging on DeLaura, the Arizona quarterback. He actually threw 4 interceptions in this game, so rough night for him. And also, he was the runner, came up about 2 inches short on the 4th down in overtime. He's had better days.
Yeah.
South Carolina beat Furman 47-21. Rutgers over Temple 36-7. UCLA beat San Diego State 35-10. Air Force over Sam Houston 13-3. TCU beat Nichols 41-6. UL Monroe beat Lamar 24-14. New Mexico over Tennessee Tech 56-10. Auburn beat Cal 14-10. And Oklahoma State over Arizona State 27-17. Fresno State beat Eastern Washington 34-31. That was in double overtime. And Utah State beat Idaho State 78-28. And that is your college football scoreboard.
I feel like Houston's fallen off since they hired a Power 5 coach.
Dana Holgorsen.
Once you hired, which everybody loved Dana at the time. I loved Dana when he was at West Virginia, but they were always the school that was going, 1 or 2 losses a year. They had the next up-and-coming head coach.
Yeah.
They go out, the guy with all the money at Houston, I can't think of his name right.
Tillman Fertitta.
Tillman Fertitta goes, we're going to get a Power 5 coach, and that's the worst they've been.
It's been a struggle, and they got a win last week where they were an underdog, a slight underdog against UTSA, and they still got the win. One more for you: Jackson State beat Southern tonight out on the Bluff, 27-14, and that wraps up your college football scoreboard. Game balls are next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, They've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Game balls. Presented by WCK Foundation Repair. Support your home team. WCK Foundation Repair.
All right, game balls, you first.
Logan Diggs. I mean, that's the type of running back I wanted to see. I told you he was different. He just had what I like to see from a running back: his first step, his speed, his awareness. He played a hell of a game.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Jaden Daniels is the obvious one.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 touchdown passes, only been done a handful of times in LSU history. So, he gets one for sure. Caleb Jackson.
He'd be definitely a runner-up to Diggs. I mean, both those guys showed me something that I've been missing.
11. Oh, so the numbers: Diggs 15 carries, 115 yards and a touchdown. Jackson 11 for 62 and 2 touchdowns. Daniels 269, 5 touchdowns, and let's see, Diggs caught a ball for 18 yards.
Diggs had some hard yards too. He broke some tackles, made some spin moves, made guys miss. It wasn't all the easy yards that made it look good.
Can I give Deshaun Womack for that shot on special teams?
Yeah, I can do that.
I mean, just a little shout out or whatever.
We got a punt return.
It's like, ooh, man. Those are your game balls in LSU's 72-10 victory over Grambling. All right, week 2 is in the books. We'll come back and wrap things up here. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 game day wrapping up. LSU wins at 72-10. So conference play opening up next Saturday. It's going to be an early start. We'll be on the air at 7 a.m. for the 11 o'clock kickoff, and we'll have an extended post game next week for LSU and Mississippi State. So let me give you the opportunity for, I think, the first or second time just of this week to go ahead and sound the alarm about being flat in morning games. The being
up.
flat in morning games meter
It's
starts
a real
right
deal.
now.
And it's a real deal. I think the best thing for us is how poorly they played in week 1 because they flew around tonight. Those guys were chasing balls down. I didn't see anybody walking, anybody jogging. I saw guys hustling all night, and I think that continues. That's going to be pushed. That's going to be the message this week. And I pray that it comes out the same way on 11 a.m.
You've played in those 11 o'clock games in Starkville. It's not exactly
teams we should have beat by 3 touchdowns. We won at the last minute.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Mississippi State did win tonight, so they are 2-0 to open the season. All right, Brian Kelly press conference on Monday. It'll be a part of Live at Lunch on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, and Coach's Show on Thursday night. And again, pregame start next week at 7 a.m. for the Tigers and the Bulldogs from Starkville, with kickoff settled for right after 11 o'clock. From all of us here at the flagship, I'm Charles Henniger saying thank you and good evening. 72-10, the Tigers win it. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.